Welcome to this short video for KWS Helpdesk team members. It will inform you of all the updates to the engineers' timesheets and how time records will be updated on Concept. We're going to step you through the changes with slides and demonstrations, and by the end you'll see how the engineering team will be capturing their times on the tablets, including overtime and downtime, how you can update the time records with dates and times provided by the engineers and subcontractors, and also how to correct the engineers' timesheets if necessary. The aim is to create a paperless system that accurately records all the working time on the task. These changes mean that engineers can use their Go app to capture the times as the buttons are pressed on the task to create a timesheet. It captures job times, travel times, and also allows them to enter their overtime. It should make life a lot easier because they won't be filling out paper timesheets and struggling to remember the times that they took on the task. New timesheet functionality will be available on the tablets from the 16th of October. There'll be a trial period during which the paper timesheets will still be used, and this will allow the process of reviewing the electronic timesheets to be worked out and consolidated. It's anticipated that after about 4 to 6 weeks, we'll be able to switch over to mainly using paperless timesheets. This new change will help us address a number of problems that are causing issues in administration and finance. Specifically, we're finding that engineers are not using their tablets in real time. In fact, over 55% of tasks are not being done by pressing the buttons while the task is being carried out. Also, correct dates and times are not always provided in the completion notes. In addition, using paper timesheets is inefficient and it doesn't tie up with the dates and times from the task completion notes. This leads to a lot of time and effort getting the right dates and times, which we need to price the task for the client. This leads to a loss of revenue, limits our growth, and an ability to plan effectively. To look at this problem a bit further, we need to understand what's used to price the task for the client and what's used to work out costs to the business. Job pricing is worked out from the times generated from the tablet when the buttons are pressed. So, if the engineer presses all the buttons on all the tasks at the end of the shift, we can't price the job correctly. In this example, it looks like only 50p's worth of work has been done for the day. The job costing comes from the timesheet that the engineering team fills out. This reflects what work has been done. Time and effort is required to tie up the costs to create accurate pricing. This represents a major loss to the business. To show you a further example, one of our contract teams averages 900 hours per engineer in terms of job price. However, when looking at the timesheets, it shows 1,400 hours of working and 200 hours of overtime. That means there is a 700-hour gap that needs to be reconciled. To make this system really work and get the pricing and costings correct, we need all engineers to use their tablets in real time while they're completing their tasks. This will lead to the correct times on the tasks and make it easier to charge the clients accurately. If an engineer can't update their task in real time, they must put the real timings in the comments box either when completing or returning a task. A new timesheet form at the end of the task will appear and allow the engineer to amend the times to show work times accurately. This includes overtime hours and travel as well. Their line managers will be able to review the real times entered on the tablet and those provided by the engineers on the task. This will determine overtime payments, so it's really important to encourage the engineer to get this right. This is the timesheet form that appears at the end of each task. At the top of the screen, it shows the times and the dates have been captured by the tablet button presses. Under the grey boxes, they can see the total time worked and the total travel time. If the dates and times are incorrect, then the engineer can put the corrected dates and times in the timesheet comment box at the bottom of the form. When the task returns to the help desk, you're able to update the task on Concept. If the times need to be adjusted for overtime, then this is done using the white boxes. The engineer manually takes the time away from the core hours and adds them to the overtime box. Now we need to look at what needs to be updated and where. For job pricing, i.e. what we charge the client, we need the dates and times that are captured automatically via the button presses on the tablet. If that's done, then no intervention is required. However, if the engineer is not working in real time, they need to write those times into the timesheet comments, which will be shown in the engineer's notes on the task. When they get back to you, you'll need to update the time record. For job costings and the engineer's timesheets, we might need to update the actual hours worked and travelled on the task. In addition, we might need to adjust the normal working hours and overtime hours. The engineers have an opportunity at the end of each task to make these adjustments, and they can make a correction by emailing the help desk by 3 o'clock on a Monday. This is an image of a time record on a task that has not been completed in real time. The engineer has provided the correct timings for the task, and we need to update the time record. The red boxes are highlighting the fields that you'll need to update so we can get the pricing for the task correct. Specifically, it's the date started, the date contained, and the date finished. There's another field that needs updating, and that's the travel start time. This is found in the attributes on the left-hand side. By clicking on the attributes, you see the field that you need to update for the travel start time. Always remember to save your changes before returning to the main screen. Do be aware that the calculated fields will not be updated once you've put these dates and times in. In this example, we've been asked to update the time record to show the times the engineer has worked on the task. The highlighted fields are timesheets normal job hours, timesheets normal travel hours, timesheets overtime job hours, and timesheets overtime travel hours. Do not update any of the other fields. The following demonstrations will help you get used to these changes. The first demo will show you the changes to the time record. The second one will show you how to update the engineer's timesheet. Usually only Helpdesk admin will have to do this once they receive an email from the engineer on a Monday. The last demo shows you how to update the dates and times on the time record. We need these for job pricing. Please be aware that the Helpdesk team no longer needs to change the core hours or the travel time on the time record. These are being managed through reporting.
Welcome to the first demonstration on the timesheet solution, which is displaying a completed engineer's time record. The first step is to open a task from the task grid. Let's have a look at the time records on this task. There's only one time record on this task. You will have to double-click it to open it. The first part of the demonstration is to show the actual timings when the engineer pressed the buttons on FSI Go on their tablet. These timings are important because they are used to price the job, which is how we bill the client. The first button press that we record is when the engineer pressed the Travel to Site button, and we can see that in the Attributes menu. Here we can see when the engineer pressed the Travel to Site button. If we needed to change this time, we can do it here. Now let's review the other button press times from this time record. The General menu shows you more button press times from the tablet. Date started is when the engineer pressed on site or when they resumed a paused task. If the engineer pressed Contain, you can see that here too. And finally, the date finished is the later of when the engineer pressed Complete or Leave Client Site. All these button press times are editable based on any communications you would have had with the engineer. The engineer will be able to feed this information to you via the Notes tab. The Notes tab shows the task completion comments made by the engineer. If the engineer hadn't pressed the buttons in real time, they'll need to advise any changes in their task completion comments, which will also be displayed here. So we've reviewed all the button press times and also any changes that the engineer may want to feed back to you. Again, all these times affect pricing the job, so it's important that we get these right. The next step is to review the timesheet times, which are the times the engineer would confirm at the end of the task. This is used to work out how much this job costs the business and is also used to agree their overtime. Let's review the timesheet times. First, look at the normal job and travel times. These normal working times are automatically captured but can be amended by the engineer whilst they're in the task. Now let's review the overtime job and travel times. The engineer's overtime needs to be entered manually whilst the engineer is in the task. The engineer will call Helpdesk after reviewing their timesheet report to amend their timesheet times, as they won't be able to amend these after finishing with the task. As they will be reviewing their previous Monday to Sunday times on Monday, the start of the week will be the busiest. It's important to note that the core time field and travel field are no longer to be used. Please leave these fields untouched. Congratulations, you've completed the first demonstration. This next demonstration is to show you how to amend the engineer's timesheet times for a time record. In this scenario, an engineer has reviewed their timesheet report on a Monday and has called you to update their timesheet times for a particular task. First open the relevant task. Now look at the time records for this task. There's only one time record for this task. Let's open it. When the engineer reviewed his timesheet report, he found that he hadn't allocated his overtime for this task. He spent 2 hours on this task, but 1.5 hours of this was as overtime. You'll need to make the correction. You've successfully changed the time record. Now save your changes. Now close the task to return to the task list. Congratulations, you have completed this demo. This last demo is to show you how to correct the engineer's actual times for a time record. In this scenario, a task is ready to be operationally complete. However, as part of the checks on the actual times for this task, you found that the engineer has not pressed their FSI Go buttons real time. So you'll need to refer to the times that the engineer entered in the task completion comment and populate the appropriate date and time fields. First open the relevant task. Now go to the time record screen. There's only one time record for this task. Let's open it. This task is ready to be set to operationally complete. However, you can see that the button press times are all around the same time, 12:30, which means that the engineer pressed them all at once and not at real time. Have a look at the engineer's completion comments to check if any notes on the actual timings have been made there. The engineer's completion comments show the actual timings of what he did. So he started travelling at 10:30, was on site at 11, completed the job at 12 and left site at 12:30. Let's update the time record according to these real timings. The first update is to the travel time start time. Save your changes before continuing. Now correct the remaining timings. The date to finish time is already correct, so there's no need to amend this. Save the time record and return to the task. Close the task to return to the task list. Congratulations, you've successfully updated an engineer's actual times for a time record.
This slide and the next slide summarises all the dates and times you may need to update on behalf of the engineer. You can ignore all other dates and times fields. This table describes the actual dates and times recorded when the engineer presses the button in FSI Go on the tablet. It also explains where to find the fields on the engineer's time record. This table in particular explains where to find the timesheet times and how they are captured. You may be asked to update these by the engineers on occasion, but generally Helpdesk admin will be updating these dates and times for the engineers. So the key points again. We'll be starting a trial period from the 16th of October. This will mean continuing to use the paper timesheets as well as the new paperless timesheets. Once the team and the admin team have got the process working smoothly, then we'll be able to phase out the manual timesheet process altogether. We think that'll take about 4 to 6 weeks. We need to encourage the engineers to use their tablets in real time for as many jobs as they can. If they have to fill out a task after they've done a job, please get them to put the correct dates and times into the completion comments on the timesheet form. Do let your contract manager know if your engineers are consistently not updating their tasks in real time and keep sending in revisions to their times. The aim of this video was to show you how the engineers will capture their normal working hours and travel time on the new timesheet functionality. In addition, we've looked at how you can update the actual task timings and correct the engineer's timesheet if necessary. We hope you've enjoyed it. Good luck and thank you for your participation.